This is the story of something I never thought I'd experience in my life. It happened a couple of years ago, and to this day, I still get chills every time I walk into a Walmart. What started as an ordinary night turned into the most terrifying few hours of my life. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, so listen closely. It was a rainy Thursday evening, and I had just gotten off work. I was tired, hungry, and annoyed because my kitchen was almost empty. So I drove to Walmart around 9:30 p.m., just before they closed. The parking lot was nearly empty. Only a few scattered cars were around. I parked under one of the flickering streetlights and grabbed my hoodie before stepping into the cold drizzle. Inside the store, it was quiet. The kind of quiet that feels too quiet. No music, no loud announcements, just the soft hum of the lights and the occasional squeak of my shoes against the floor. I remember thinking how peaceful it was. Almost nice, but that peace didn't last long. I went straight to the grocery section, grabbed some eggs, milk, and a few frozen meals. I had just turned down the canned goods aisle when I heard it. Something small falling and rolling on the floor a few aisles over. A can, maybe. I paused, listening. Nothing followed. I shrugged it off. Probably another customer or one of the night staff restocking. But as I turned into the next aisle, I froze. There was a shopping cart, just sitting there, empty, blocking the middle of the aisle. What was strange wasn't the cart itself, it was the fact that it had a child's shoe inside. Just one tiny pink shoe, sitting in the cart like someone had placed it there on purpose. No one was around. I looked behind me, down both ends of the aisle. Still no one. That weird, tight feeling crept into my chest, the kind you get when you know something isn't right. I didn't touch the cart. I just turned around and walked faster toward the front of the store. That's when I noticed the lights above aisle 9 were flickering, fast, like strobe lights. I was passing that aisle when I saw movement. I stopped and looked down it. At first it seemed empty, but then, right at the far end, something moved quickly between the shelves. Not walked, not ran, moved, like it slid without sound. I stood there, heart pounding. My first thought was maybe a prank, maybe a worker pulling a Halloween joke early. But then I realized it was February. I called out, "Hello? Anyone there?" My voice echoed down the aisle, and then it got eaten by the silence. I didn't wait for an answer. I started walking faster, then faster still, until I was almost jogging toward the self-checkout. I just wanted to get out. But when I turned the corner, the registers were empty. I don't mean no customers. I mean no employees, no lights, no hum of machines. The entire front end of the store was dark. I stood there for a second, holding my basket, completely confused. I walked up to the exit doors and they didn't open. I waved my hand in front of the sensor. Nothing. I pressed the emergency push bar on the side doors. Locked. Everything was locked. That's when I heard the sound again, the rolling can. But this time it wasn't distant. It was just a few feet behind me. I spun around. No one. Nothing. Then I saw it. On the floor. A can of corn slowly rolling toward me from down the aisle. Like someone had pushed it. I stared at it, frozen. And then came the footsteps. Not regular footsteps. Barefoot, wet slaps against the tile, slowly approaching from the far end of the store. I couldn't see anyone. But the steps got louder and closer. I backed up until my back hit the locked doors. I fumbled for my phone and turned on the flashlight. I pointed it toward the noise, but it showed nothing. Just empty aisles. But the sound kept coming. Then the lights flickered above me, and for a second, just a second, I saw something. A figure. Thin. Tall. With long, tangled hair covering its face, wearing a torn Walmart vest but barefoot and moving in a strange, twitching way. Its arms hung too low, almost touching the floor. It stood just outside the light, half hidden in the shadows. And then, it moved again. I screamed. I didn't care how crazy I looked. I threw my basket and ran back into the store, past the aisles toward the back where I knew the employee exit might be. I pounded on the door marked "Staff Only," hoping someone, anyone, would answer. No one did. But the door creaked open, by itself. Inside it was dark, but I had no choice. I stepped in. The back area of the store was a maze, racks of clothes, boxes, carts. I didn't stop. I kept walking fast, looking for an emergency exit. That's when I heard the breathing. Heavy, ragged, like someone was standing right behind me. I spun around, light shaking in my hand. No one. But when I turned back forward, there it was. That thing. Right in front of me. Inches from my face. Its skin was pale, grayish, eyes completely black. No white at all. And its mouth, too wide, twisted into something that looked like a smile. It didn't blink. It didn't move. It just stared. I dropped my phone and ran. I don't even remember which direction. I just ran until I slammed into a side door and burst out into the loading dock behind the store. Cold air hit me like a slap, and I kept running into the parking lot, not stopping until I reached my car. I jumped in, locked the doors, and drove away so fast I nearly hit the curb. When I got home, I couldn't sleep. I kept the lights on, kept checking the windows. The next day, I went back to that Walmart during the day. I had to convince myself it was just stress, just my imagination. But when I asked one of the cashiers if something weird had happened the night before, she got quiet. Then, she said, "You were here last night?" I nodded. She swallowed and looked around before leaning in and whispering, "They don't talk about it, but 5 years ago, a night manager vanished during a night shift. They say she was acting strange for weeks. Then one night she just disappeared. Security cameras stopped working. Her shoes were found next to a shopping cart, just one shoe." I couldn't breathe. And then she added, "Some of us think she never really left, just changed." I haven't gone back since. And if you ever do shop at a Walmart late at night, don't ignore the empty carts, and if the lights start to flicker, run. This is the story of something that happened to me when I was 19 years old. I still remember it clearly, like it happened yesterday. It was the kind of night that changes the way you look at the world. And ever since that night, I've never gone into a Walmart after dark. So listen closely, because this is my true Walmart horror story. It was a Friday night, sometime in late October. I had just started a new job at a local diner, and my shift ended around 10 p.m. I was walking to my car when I remembered that I needed shampoo and laundry detergent. The only place still open was Walmart, so I figured I'd stop by on the way home. The parking lot was big and mostly empty, just a few cars scattered around. A light fog was rolling in, and everything looked kind of blurry. I parked near the entrance and walked toward the sliding doors, not knowing that something very strange was waiting for me inside. As soon as I stepped in, I noticed something odd. The greeter wasn't there. Usually there's someone smiling or checking receipts, but the front area was completely empty. The lights above were a little dim, and the store was quiet. Too quiet. There wasn't even background music playing. I shook it off. Maybe it was just a slow night. I grabbed a cart and started walking down the health and beauty aisle. That's when I heard it. The soft sound of whispering. I stopped and looked around. No one was near me. I turned my head, thinking maybe someone was talking on the phone, but the aisle was empty. I laughed a little to myself. "You're just tired," I whispered. I kept walking. After grabbing shampoo, I moved on to the cleaning section, but as I turned a corner, I saw something that made me stop in my tracks. A child was standing in the middle of the aisle, a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. She was barefoot, wearing a pink nightgown, and holding a stuffed bear that was missing one eye. Her hair was long and messy, hanging over her face. She didn't say anything. She just stared at me. "Hey, sweetie, are you lost?" I asked, slowly pushing my cart closer. She didn't answer, didn't move, just stared. Something about her didn't feel right. I backed up and turned around to look for help. Maybe her parents were nearby, but when I turned back, she was gone, just like that. Disappeared. My heart jumped. There was no way she could have run off that fast. I left my cart and walked quickly to the front of the store. Still no employees in sight. The registers were empty. No cashiers, no customers, nothing. That's when the store lights flickered. I stood still, my breath caught in my throat. One by one, the lights started shutting off from the back of the store toward the front. Click, click, click. It was like something was coming. Something that didn't want to be seen. I ran toward the exit. The automatic doors didn't open. I waved my hands, jumped, even kicked them. Nothing. Panic rushed through me. I looked around, trying to find another way out. That's when I saw movement in the toy section to my right. Shelves rattled and I heard a child giggling, but not in a fun, happy way. It was a cold, creepy giggle that echoed off the walls. I ran. I didn't care about the shampoo or the detergent. I just wanted to get out. I headed toward the employee-only door near the back. I pushed it open, praying it wasn't locked. It wasn't. Inside was a long hallway with dirty tiles and flickering lights. The break room, storage, and bathrooms were back there. I ran down the hallway calling out, "Hello? Is anyone here? I need help." No answer. Suddenly I heard a loud slam behind me. I turned around. The door I had just come through was closed, and standing in front of it was the little girl, still, silent, still staring. But this time her eyes were black. No whites. Just black. I ran into the break room and slammed the door shut. I pushed a chair under the handle and backed up to the wall, breathing hard. The lights in the break room started to buzz and flash. The vending machine began shaking like something inside wanted to get out. Then the TV on the wall turned on. There was no remote nearby, and the power button was taped over. But the screen flickered to life, showing black and white security footage of the store. Each camera showed a different section: toys, food, electronics, and in every section that same little girl was standing, looking straight into the camera. Then all the screens went black, except one. It showed the break room I was in. Only, in the footage, I wasn't alone. Behind me, standing just a few feet away, was the girl. I screamed and turned around, but no one was there. That's when the power went out completely. Total darkness. I couldn't see my own hands. I crawled across the floor, trying to find the door. I felt my way along the wall until I reached the handle. I pushed the chair aside and opened the door just a crack. She was there, right outside, smiling. I slammed the door and screamed. Then I heard a voice, a man's voice. "Hello? Is someone back here?" I jumped up. Yes, I'm here. Please, help!" A flashlight shone through the hallway and a security guard walked up to the door. I burst out, shaking and crying. "There's a girl. She's in here. She's not normal. He looked confused. "Slow down. What girl?" I looked back toward the hallway. Empty. The guard led me to the front. The lights were back on. Music was playing. Customers were shopping. Employees were at the registers like nothing ever happened. It was like I had imagined it all, but I hadn't. As I left, I passed a bulletin board near the exit. It had missing person flyers. One of them caught my eye. A little girl, barefoot, pink nightgown, stuffed bear in her arms, missing since 1996. I walked out into the night, shaking. I never went back. And now, whenever someone tells me they're heading to Walmart late at night, I tell them this story, because something is still there, watching, waiting. And if you ever hear giggling in the toy section, don't follow it. Just leave. Fast. Before she finds you too. This is the story of something that happened to my friend Megan one cold November night. She was never the kind of person to get scared easily. She laughed at horror movies, went camping alone, and worked night shifts without a problem. But after what happened at that Walmart, she changed. She wouldn't talk about it for weeks, until one night she finally told me everything. Now I'm going to tell you, and I want you to listen carefully, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It started like any normal evening. Megan had just finished her nursing shift at the hospital. It was around 11:30 p.m., and she remembered she needed some stuff for her dog, food, shampoo, and a new toy. She didn't want to drive far, so she stopped at the nearest 24-hour Walmart, a smaller one just outside of town. The parking lot was nearly empty. Only 3 or 4 cars scattered across the wide space. The big glass doors slid open as she walked in, and right away, she noticed it felt off. No music was playing. The air felt thick, and even though it was late, she was used to seeing at least a few night workers restocking shelves, but the store felt deserted. She kept walking. At first, she didn't think much of it. She grabbed a cart and headed to the pet aisle. The lights overhead were buzzing, flickering a little. She made a joke to herself. Haunted Walmart vibes. She picked up a large bag of dog food, tossed it in the cart, and then looked at the toys. That's when she heard a soft click, click, click sound coming from the next aisle. It sounded like claws on tile. She thought maybe someone's dog had gotten loose. Curious, she peeked around the corner. The aisle was empty, but something small rolled into view. A tennis ball, a chewed-up green one. It slowly came to a stop right near her feet. She bent down, picked it up and looked around again. Still no one. Suddenly, the lights above her blinked off, then flicked back on. That's when she saw it. Just for a second, at the far end of the aisle, a child. Maybe 8 or 9 years old, dressed in a hoodie, barefoot, pale as paper. His eyes too wide, too black. Then he was gone. Megan froze. Her hands were shaking, still holding the tennis ball. She put it down and pushed her cart away from the pet aisle, walking fast toward the front of the store. That's when she realized something even stranger. The layout of the store had changed. She was sure she had walked past the electronics section earlier, but now it was gone. She walked in circles, confused. Aisles seemed to move. Some led to dead ends. Some turned into loops. It was like the store was folding in on itself. And the silence. It got deeper, heavier, like the whole building was holding its breath. She called out, "Hello? Is anyone here?" No answer. She pulled out her phone. No signal, no Wi-Fi. The time still said 11:47 p.m., same as when she walked in. Then she heard the sound again. The click, click, click. This time, closer. She turned and saw movement down the main aisle. A figure, a man, walking slowly, wearing a blue Walmart vest. At first, she felt relief. "Hey, excuse me," she called out. He didn't respond. He just kept walking, his back to her. She ran after him. "Sir, please, I need help." But when she reached him, he stopped and turned around. His vest was torn. His skin was pale gray, his face was wrong. Hollow eyes, sunken cheeks, and his smile, wide, crooked, like it was carved into his face. Megan stumbled backward. The man tilted his head, watching her, then lifted his hand and pointed behind her. She turned around slowly. There, standing right in the middle of the checkout lanes, was the boy again, still barefoot, still staring. Only this time, he was smiling too. Her heart nearly stopped. She ran, not even knowing where she was going, just running. She passed frozen foods, toys, furniture, none of it where it should be. Everything looked warped, like pieces of different Walmarts were stitched together. Then she saw it, a red exit sign glowing above a metal door at the back of the store. She sprinted toward it. She grabbed the handle, locked, banged on the door. Nothing. Suddenly, the lights all shut off at once. Total darkness. Then, footsteps. Fast. All around her. Circling. Like someone, or something, was running full speed but not getting closer. She pressed herself against the door, shaking. Then she heard a whisper, right behind her ear. "You're not supposed to be here." She screamed and dropped to the floor. When she opened her eyes again, she was lying in the middle of the toy section. It was quiet, bright. People were shopping. Music was playing overhead. A woman walked past with her child. 2 employees were talking near electronics. Everything looked normal. She sat up, dizzy and confused. She looked at her phone. It was 12:01 a.m. Only 14 minutes had passed. She walked slowly toward the front of the store. The cashier smiled at her. "Did you find everything okay?" Megan just nodded. She didn't buy anything. She walked straight out to her car, locked the doors, and drove home with her hands gripping the wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. Next morning she called me. She told me everything. Her voice shook as she spoke. She said it didn't feel like a dream. It felt too real. The boy, the man, the shifting aisles, the whispers, the door that wouldn't open. I didn't know what to say, but I believed her. I could hear the fear in her voice. A few days later, I did some digging. I looked up that Walmart, and I found something. A Reddit post, 3 years old. A guy talking about how he got lost in the same store late at night. He mentioned a barefoot kid, the flickering lights, the feeling of being watched. And then I found a news story. A young boy had gone missing in that Walmart back in 2001. He was last seen holding a green tennis ball in the toy section. Security footage showed him walking into the pet aisle. After that, nothing. No trace. They never found him. I sent the article to Megan. She never replied. That Walmart is still open. Still 24 hours. But I don't go there. And if you ever find yourself in a Walmart late at night, and the music suddenly stops, or the lights start flickering, or you hear the sound of small feet running across the floor, leave. Don't stop. Don't look back, because some aisles lead to places you were never meant to go. This is the story of something terrifying that happened to my cousin Daniel. He was a funny, easygoing guy who never took anything too seriously. But after this night, he stopped laughing as much. He doesn't even like to talk about it anymore. He told me the full story once late at night, his voice low and eyes serious. Now I'm going to tell you that story, just as he told it to me. So listen closely, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was a Monday night in early December. Cold, quiet, and still. Daniel had just gotten off work at the gas station and realized he needed a few things: milk, batteries, and a phone charger. The only place open that late was the Walmart a few miles away. It wasn't a big store, but it was open 24 hours. Daniel had been there hundreds of times. He figured he'd be in and out in 15 minutes. He pulled into the parking lot around 11:45 p.m. It was almost empty except for 2 other cars. He didn't think much of it. Late night shopping usually meant fewer crowds, and Daniel liked that. As he walked through the automatic doors, he noticed something strange right away. The greeter, an old man who always gave Daniel a nod and a smile, wasn't there. The welcome mat was wet, and the lights inside the store seemed dimmer than usual. Not off, but dull. Like the brightness had been turned down just a little. Daniel grabbed a basket and walked in. There were no carts around, which was odd. Usually there were at least a few. He headed straight to the electronics section in the back of the store. He passed aisle after aisle and didn't see a single person. No customers, no workers, no sound except for a faint hum from the ceiling lights. It was strange, but Daniel thought maybe the employees were in the back room or on break. When he reached the electronics section, it was dark. All the TVs were turned off, the phone accessories. Wall was half empty, and there was a weird smell in the air. Not something rotten, more like metal, mixed with dust and something he couldn't explain. He looked around for a worker. "Hello?" he called out. "Anyone back there?" No answer. That's when he heard something. A soft, dragging sound. It was coming from the toy section just a few aisles over. He stepped closer, curious. As he got nearer, he saw a red ball slowly roll out from behind a shelf and stop at his feet. A bright red rubber ball. He didn't touch it. "Hello?" he said again, louder this time. Still no answer. He walked to the end of the toy aisle and peeked around the corner. No one there. He turned back toward the ball, and it was gone. Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. He told himself it was probably just a kid playing a prank. Maybe someone had hidden behind a shelf and pulled the ball back with a string. That had to be it, right? He turned to walk back toward the front of the store, but that's when he saw it. Standing at the far end of the aisle was a child. Not moving, not blinking. A little boy in pajamas. His skin was pale. His eyes were dark. Too dark. The boy just stared at him. Daniel froze. "Hey, are you lost?" No response. He took a step forward. The lights above him flickered once, then again. When they came back fully, the boy was gone. Daniel backed up slowly, heart pounding. This wasn't right. Something felt very wrong. He left the electronics section and tried to find the front exit. But the more he walked, the more confused he got. The aisles didn't look right. The signs were wrong. Some shelves had the same item over and over, like an entire row of toothpaste, just the same brand, stacked for 30 feet. Another aisle had nothing but stuffed bears, identical, lined up perfectly. He turned a corner, and there was the red ball again, sitting in the middle of the floor. He turned back, and the little boy was standing behind him, just a few feet away. Daniel jumped and stumbled backward. "Where are your parents?" he asked, trying to stay calm. "Do you need help?" The boy slowly tilted his head to the side. Then his mouth opened, but instead of words, a low growling sound came out. Daniel ran. He dropped his basket, turned, and sprinted down the aisle. The lights above him began shutting off one by one as he passed under them. The air grew cold. He could hear something behind him. Footsteps? No. More like scratching. He didn't look back. He ran until he found the break room door in the back of the store and burst through it. Inside was pitch black. He turned on his phone flashlight and scanned the room. Tables, chairs, a vending machine, all normal. Then he heard whispering. It wasn't coming from one place. It was all around him, like the walls were talking. He backed into the corner, breathing hard, when he saw the vending machine light up. All the snacks inside were gone, except one row red rubber balls every slot. Red balls, all the same. He ran again. He found the emergency exit door and shoved it open. The alarm didn't go off. Cold air hit him, and he ran through the alley behind the store toward his car. He didn't stop until he was inside, doors locked, engine running. He sat there shaking, watching the front doors of the Walmart. Everything looked normal again. Bright lights, regular signs. Even a customer walked out with a bag in hand. Daniel didn't go back inside. The next morning he returned with his older brother. In daylight, the store seemed fine. People were shopping, employees were working. Music played overhead. It looked like nothing had ever happened. But when Daniel asked about the red ball or the boy in pajamas, the manager's face changed. She said, "You're not the first person to mention that." He asked her what she meant. She looked around carefully and lowered her voice. Years ago, a little boy got separated from his mom late at night. He was playing with a red ball. Security footage shows him running into the toy aisle. Then nothing. No exit. No trace. Just gone. They never found him. Since then, some people who come in late at night say they've seen him, or worse, heard him. Daniel hasn't set foot in a Walmart since. So if you ever find yourself alone in a Walmart late at night, and you hear a red ball rolling behind you, Don't turn around, just leave. Because some things that get lost in the dark don't want to be found. This is the story of a night my older sister Claire will never forget. She's not the type to believe in ghosts or scary stories. She's smart, strong, and always calm. But what happened to her at Walmart still gives her nightmares. When she told me what she saw, she made me promise to never go shopping there alone at night. I'm going to tell you exactly what happened. Listen closely because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was late, almost midnight, on a rainy Saturday. Claire had just come home from dinner with her friends when she realized she was out of diapers and baby wipes for her daughter. Her husband was out of town for work, so she didn't have anyone to watch the baby. Luckily, her neighbor offered to come sit with her little girl for a short time. Claire grabbed her keys and drove to the nearby 24-hour Walmart. She didn't like going out that late, but she thought it would be a quick in-and-out trip. The roads were wet and empty. The rain tapped gently on the windshield as she pulled into the nearly deserted parking lot. Only 4 cars were parked near the entrance. The lights inside the store were on, but dimmer than usual, like half the power was off. Still, she went inside. The sliding doors opened with a soft whoosh, and she stepped into silence. There was no greeter, no background music, no noise at all. She pushed a cart and headed straight for the baby section near the back of the store. As she walked, she noticed how empty everything felt. There were no other customers in sight. She didn't even see any workers. She shrugged it off. It's late, she thought. Maybe they're all in the back room. The baby section was quiet. She grabbed what she needed quickly: diapers, wipes, and a bottle of baby lotion. As she turned to leave the aisle, she heard something strange. It was a soft humming sound, like someone singing a lullaby. Claire froze. The sound was coming from the next aisle over. Curious, and a little uneasy, she peeked around the corner. No, one was there, but the lullaby kept playing very softly. She followed the sound to the toy aisle. The lights there were dim, blinking like they were struggling to stay on. She stepped in slowly, her footsteps echoing in the silence. Then she saw it. A rocking horse, old-fashioned, wooden, placed right in the middle of the aisle, slowly rocking back and forth, by itself. Claire stared. There was no breeze, no air vents, nothing that could explain it. She whispered, "Hello?" Her voice sounded too loud in the stillness. That's when the horse stopped moving, instantly, as if someone had caught it. She backed away, heart pounding, and turned around to leave. But standing at the end of the aisle was a little girl, barefoot, pale, wearing a dirty white dress. Her hair long and black, covering most of her face. Claire took a step back, unsure of what she was seeing. "Sweetie, are you okay?" she asked. The girl didn't answer, didn't move. Then, in a blink, the girl vanished. Claire's stomach dropped. She turned and ran down the aisle, her cart forgotten. The store looked different now. The shelves seemed taller, the aisles darker. The signs were wrong. Instead of toys or home goods, the sign said things like, "Alone," and "Turn back." She was panicking now. She pulled out her phone. No signal. The screen kept glitching. She tried to find the exit, but every time she thought she was close, the lights would flicker and shift, and she'd end up somewhere else. Sporting, goods, then seasonal items, then cleaning supplies. She was going in circles. That's when the crying started. Soft, broken sobs, like a child crying into a pillow. Claire followed the sound, thinking maybe the little girl was real and just needed help. She followed the sobs to the fitting rooms. The door was open. Inside was pitch black. She stepped in slowly. "Hello? Are you okay?" she asked. The crying stopped. Silence. Then a whisper. "She's not supposed to be here." Claire turned and bolted out of the fitting room, but the store had changed again. Now the shelves were empty. All of them. Nothing but dust and cobwebs. The ceiling lights were swinging slightly, like something had moved past them fast. And then she saw it. The girl, crawling on the ceiling, head twisted at an unnatural angle, hair hanging down like a curtain, her hands and feet gripping the metal. Beams above, Claire gasped and stumbled backward, falling to the floor. The girl dropped, not like a person falling, more like a shadow slipping down the wall. When Claire opened her eyes, the girl was standing over her. Her face was still hidden by hair, but her mouth was visible. She was smiling, too wide, too sharp. Claire screamed and ran. She didn't know which direction. She just ran, dodging carts and knocked over shelves, until she found the bakery section. It was lit, bright, warm, normal. And standing there, placing bread on the shelves, was an old woman in a Walmart vest. Claire rushed to her. "Please, help me. There's something in here. There's a little girl. It's not human." The woman turned slowly and gave Claire a strange look. "You saw her?" Claire nodded, breathing hard. "Yes, she was crawling on the ceiling." She disappeared, then smiled. The woman sighed. "She shows herself sometimes," she said quietly, "only to people who believe in kindness." Claire blinked. "What?" "She died in this store years ago, back when it was being built. No one talks about it, but she lingers, looking for someone who will listen to her cries or play with her toys." Claire was frozen. "She doesn't hurt everyone," the woman added. "Only the ones who ignore her." The old woman pointed behind Claire. Claire turned. The girl was gone. Just the rocking horse stood at the end of the bakery aisle, perfectly still. When Claire looked back to the woman, she was gone too. She didn't wait. She ran straight to the front of the store. This time the doors opened. The rain had stopped. The parking lot looked normal again. Everything seemed fine. She jumped in her car, drove home in silence, and hugged her baby for a long time. She never went to that Walmart again. And if you ever go shopping late at night and you hear a lullaby or see a lonely toy rocking by itself, leave. Don't try to be brave. Don't try to find the sound, because some children never really leave the toy aisle. This is the story of something that happened to a guy named Josh, a friend of mine from college. He was never the type to believe in anything strange or scary. In fact, he used to make fun of people who said they saw ghosts or felt bad energy. But one night, inside a Walmart, all of that changed. What happened to Josh still makes my skin crawl. So listen closely, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was around 1 a.m. on a Tuesday when Josh decided to go to Walmart. He had just finished binge-watching a show and realized he had no snacks left for the rest of the week. Being a night owl, he thought it would be the perfect time to go. No crowds, no lines. He grabbed his car keys and headed to the 24-hour Walmart near the edge of town. The store was large and always kind of quiet late at night, but this time, the silence felt heavier. As he parked his car, he noticed something strange. There were no shopping carts in the parking lot. Usually there were at least a few scattered around, but not tonight. He walked to the front entrance. The automatic doors opened slowly, almost like they were tired. No greeter was in sight. The lights inside were on, but not as bright as they usually were. He grabbed a basket from inside, feeling a small shiver run up his spine. Probably just cold air from outside, he told himself. Josh headed straight to the snack aisle, hoping to grab chips, soda, and maybe some frozen pizza. But when he got to the snacks, something felt off. The shelves were messy. Chips knocked over, bags torn open. It looked like someone had rushed through and grabbed whatever they could. He thought maybe there had been a sale earlier, or some kids were messing around. He picked up what he needed and continued down the next aisle. That's when he heard the noise, a soft rustling, like someone dragging their feet across the floor. He turned around quickly, expecting to see another shopper. No one. He kept walking, a little faster now. In the frozen food section, he noticed that the lights inside the freezers were flickering. One of the doors was slightly open. Cold air spilled out like fog. When he got closer to shut it, he saw handprints on the glass. Small handprints, like a child's. That's when he heard it. A soft voice humming. It was a tune he didn't recognize. Slow, sweet, and sad. It echoed through the empty aisles. He stood still, trying to figure out where it was coming from. Then he saw movement at the far end of the aisle. A figure, a little boy. Josh blinked. The boy was gone. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. He turned to head toward the front of the store. Something about that humming made his chest feel tight. As he passed the electronics section, all the TVs turned on at once. Every screen showed static. Then, slowly, the image changed. It was the security camera. Footage, live view of the store, different angles. But on every screen, no matter which part of the store it showed, there was the same boy. Same clothes, same face, standing still, looking into the camera. Josh's hands went cold. He backed away from the screens, and then all the TVs turned off at once. Silence again. He started walking faster now. His basket felt heavy, his breath short, but the aisles felt longer, like the store was growing, stretching. No matter how many turns he made, the front exit never got closer. Then he heard the humming again, but now it was right behind him. He turned, and nothing was there. Just the toy section to his left. He had no reason to go in there, but his feet moved on their own, drawn in by the sound. The toy section was dark. All the lights were off, except one flickering bulb above a shelf full of dolls. Old-fashioned dolls with glass eyes and painted faces. All of them were turned toward him. Josh stepped back uneasy. Then he noticed one doll was on the floor. Its face was cracked. Its eyes were wet. He looked closer and saw the reflection. The little boy, standing behind him. Josh spun around. Empty aisle. The doll began to shake. He ran through the aisles, dropping his basket somewhere along the way. As he passed the clothes section, he saw something that made his heart stop. All the mannequins were turned, not in their usual poses, but all facing the same direction, toward him. Some had no heads. Others had arms raised. One had a child's drawing pinned to its chest, a red crayon sketch of a crying boy. He didn't stop. He sprinted to the exit, praying it would open. But when he reached the sliding doors, they were shut, wouldn't open. He pounded on the glass, yelled, tried to force them open with his hands. Nothing. Behind him, the store was quiet again. Then, footsteps, small, barefoot, fast, coming closer. He turned, pressed against the glass, and saw him. The boy, now close enough to see his face clearly. His eyes were black, no white at all. His mouth was wide open, but no sound came out. Josh backed away, and the boy stepped forward, closer, closer. Then, the doors opened. Josh didn't think. He bolted through them and ran to his car, jumped in, locked the doors, drove away so fast he nearly crashed into the shopping cart return. When he got home, he looked in his rearview mirror the whole time, expecting to see something in the back seat, but it was empty. That night, he didn't sleep. The next day, he told me everything. I asked if he wanted to report it to Walmart. He said no. He went back a week later during the day, just to see if it all really happened. Everything looked normal. Bright, clean, safe. But when he passed the toy section, one of the workers was restocking shelves. Josh asked, "Hey, do weird things ever happen here at night?" The worker paused, then said, "You saw the boy, didn't you?" Josh froze. The worker didn't say more, just went back to stacking toys. Josh never returned after that. So if you ever go to Walmart late at night and hear humming, or see a freezer, door left open with little handprints on it, turn around, go home. Because some aisles don't lead where you think they do, and some children never left the store. This is the story of something truly terrifying that happened to a woman named Lisa. She's a quiet, polite school teacher who loves books, coffee, and quiet evenings. She's not the type to make up stories or exaggerate. That's why when she told me what happened to her one night inside a Walmart, I believed her completely. And after hearing what she went through, you might think twice before shopping alone late at night. So sit back, listen carefully, and remember, this is a true Walmart horror story. It happened one Thursday night. Lisa had been grading papers all evening when she noticed she was out of printer ink. She needed to finish a few reports for work the next day, so she quickly grabbed her keys and drove to the 24-hour Walmart on the edge of town. It was already 11:50 p.m. when she pulled into the parking lot. The lot was almost empty, just two other cars, both parked far from the entrance. She parked close to the doors, under one of the flickering lights. The night was cold and quiet. Too quiet. She walked in. The sliding doors opened slowly. There was no greeter, no background music, just the soft buzzing of overhead lights and the squeaky wheels of the cart she grabbed. It felt like she had walked into a different world, one that had been abandoned. Still, she kept walking. She figured it was just a quiet night. Maybe the store was short on staff. She made her way toward the electronics section, where the printer, ink was kept. As she passed the toy section, something caught her eye. A doll lying in the middle of the floor. A baby doll, face cracked, one eye missing. It looked old, too old to be from a modern shelf. She bent down to pick it up, thinking maybe a kid had dropped it. But as soon as her fingers touched the doll, she heard a sound behind her. Laughter, not the happy kind. It was soft, high-pitched, and wrong. She turned quickly, but the aisle was empty. She stood there for a moment, holding her breath. Then she placed the doll back on the shelf and walked quickly to the electronics area. That's when things got strange. As she entered the electronics section, the overhead lights began to flicker. The TVs, all lined up on the wall, suddenly turned on at the same time, without sound. Each screen showed a different part of the store from the security cameras. But something was off. In every camera angle, Lisa saw the same thing. A small child standing perfectly still, staring into the camera. Same child, different spots. And in one of the screens, the child turned and looked straight at her. She took a step back. The screens all turned off at once. Lisa spun around, feeling like she was being watched. But again, no one was there. She rushed to the shelf, grabbed the printer ink and turned to leave. That's when she saw the little girl, just a few feet away, standing at the end of the electronics aisle, barefoot, pale skin, wearing a white dress that was dirty and torn at the bottom. Her long dark hair covered most of her face, but Lisa could see her mouth. It was smiling. Not a sweet smile, not a shy one. It was wide, unnatural. Lisa blinked, and the girl was gone. She dropped the ink and ran. She didn't care about her shopping anymore. She just wanted out. She ran down what she thought was the main aisle, but nothing looked familiar. The shelves were wrong. The signs were faded, as if the store had been abandoned for years. She passed an aisle filled with dolls, all staring at her with glassy, lifeless eyes. Then she passed another aisle, and there was the same doll from earlier. Same cracked face, same missing eye, back on the floor. She hadn't come this way. She was sure of it. She backed away slowly, heart pounding in her chest. Her breathing grew fast and shallow. She just needed to find the exit. That's when the power went out. Total darkness. She stood still, frozen in place. Then, slowly, the emergency lights kicked on. Dim red lights lit up parts of the store. Shadows stretched across the floor like long fingers. And then, she heard the footsteps, small, barefoot, coming closer. Lisa turned on her phone's flashlight and shined it around. That's when she saw the girl again. Not walking, crawling, fast, on all fours, coming straight toward her. Lisa screamed and ran. She turned corners, past dark aisles, until she saw it. The glowing red exit sign at the back of the store. She didn't stop. She ran straight for it, slammed into the door and pushed. It wouldn't open. She turned around. The store was silent again. The girl was gone, but something else was there. She heard whispering, soft, all around her, like it was coming from the walls. She covered her ears and screamed, "Leave me alone!" And then, the door opened. She didn't wait to ask why. She bolted through it, out into the cold night. The door slammed shut behind her. Lisa didn't look back. She ran to her car, jumped in and sped away. When she got home, she locked every door and window, sat on the couch, and cried. The next morning, she called the store. She told them what happened. But the manager just laughed a little and said, "You know, you're not the first person to say something like that." Lisa didn't laugh. He continued, more serious now. There are stories about a little girl. Some say she died there years ago when the store was first being built. Others say she just appears to people who come in alone. Lisa hung up. She's never gone back to that Walmart. She started ordering everything online after that, and if you ever find yourself in a Walmart late at night and the lights start flickering, or you hear laughter when no one's around, leave. Don't look for where it's coming from. Don't go toward the toy section, because some children aren't there to shop. Some are just waiting to be seen. This is the story of something that happened to my neighbor, Ben. He's a quiet guy in his early 30s, works as a mechanic, and mostly keeps to himself. He doesn't scare easily, but one night, he knocked on my door just after midnight, pale as a ghost, shaking like I'd never seen before. I let him in, and after a long silence, he looked me in the eyes and said, "Something followed me out of Walmart. That's how I heard it. And now I'm going to tell it to you. Listen carefully, because this is a true Walmart horror story." It was a Sunday night. Ben had spent the whole day fixing a broken truck in his garage. Around 11 p.m. he realized he was out of engine oil and snacks and figured he could make a quick stop at Walmart. It was only 10 minutes away and open all night. When he pulled into the parking lot, it was almost empty. Maybe 5 or 6 cars were there, but he didn't see anyone outside. The place looked normal, at least from the outside. He walked through the sliding doors. No greeter, no music, just silence. That was the first thing he noticed, how quiet it was. Usually there's some background noise, a beeping register, talking, carts rolling. But not that night. The lights were dimmer than usual too. He figured they were saving energy for the night shift. So he grabbed a basket and headed toward the automotive section. He got what he needed, then cut across the store to grab some chips and soda. That's when things started to feel strange. He turned a corner and saw something lying in the middle of the aisle. It was a black hoodie, small, like for a child. He bent down and picked it up, thinking maybe someone dropped it. It was cold, damp, smelled like metal. Suddenly he heard a soft thump behind him. He turned around. No one. He dropped the hoodie back on the ground and kept walking. Then he heard it again. Thump, 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 like soft footsteps. But every time he turned, the aisle was empty. He sped up. That's when he heard breathing. Heavy, shaky breathing. Just behind his ear. He turned quickly, but there was no one there. The lights above him flickered once, twice, and then went out. He pulled out his phone for a flashlight and started walking fast toward the front. But the store was no longer the same. The aisles were wrong. The shelves were filled with old, dusty items, products he'd never seen before. Cans with faded labels, toys that looked like they were from the 1960s. And in one aisle, every item was just nails. Dozens of shelves stacked with metal nails, all pointing in the same direction. Ben knew something was off. He wasn't in the regular Walmart anymore. He called out, "Hello, is anyone here?" No answer. He turned down another aisle and stopped cold. There was a figure at the far end, a woman, dressed in a dirty gray dress. Her long black hair hung down, hiding her face. Her arms dangled at her sides like they had no bones. She didn't move. He whispered, "Hey, are you okay?" The woman raised her head slowly. Her face was wrong. Hollow eyes, no lips, just a mouth stretched too wide across her face. Then she started walking. Not fast, just slow, steady. But every time Ben blinked, she was closer. He backed away, turned to run. That's when he saw the signs had changed. Instead of frozen foods or toys, the signs above the aisles now read things like, "No escape, you shouldn't be here, she's hungry." Ben ran. He ran down the nearest aisle, not even knowing where he was going. The lights flickered again, but never fully came back. Everything was dark red and shadowy. Then he saw it, an exit sign glowing at the far end of the store. He ran toward it. But halfway there, something moved across his path. It was fast. Too fast. Like a shadow crawling on the ground. He stopped, and from the shadows a voice whispered his name. Ben. He froze. No one knew his name in there. He hadn't spoken to a single person. "Ben?" the voice said again, longer this time, stretching the word like it was being pulled apart. He ran, didn't stop, didn't look back. He reached the exit door and shoved it open, but instead of leading outside, it opened into another aisle. Same flickering lights, same cold air. He turned and saw the woman again. This time, she was closer. He turned and ran the other way, past shelves that were now completely empty, just rows and rows of metal, humming softly. Then he saw a door marked, "Employees Only." He pushed it open and rushed in. Inside was dark. He could hear machines humming, maybe fridges or freezers. He walked slowly, using his phone flashlight, breathing hard. Then he heard crying, soft, like a child. He followed the sound, even though everything in his body told him not to. He found a little girl sitting on the floor, hugging her knees. Her face was hidden in her arms. "Hey, it's okay," Ben said. "I'll help you get out." The girl didn't move. He stepped closer. Then she raised her head. Her eyes were black. No whites at all. Just deep, empty holes. Her mouth twisted into a smile too big for her face. And in a voice that sounded like metal scraping glass, she said, "You shouldn't have come here." Ben ran. He didn't know how, but he suddenly found himself at the front of the store again. The lights were normal. The shelves were full. People were shopping. It was 12:03 a.m. He stood there in shock. Everything looked completely normal, as if nothing had happened. He left his basket on the floor, walked out the sliding doors and got into his truck. When he looked in the rear-view mirror, the girl was sitting in the back seat. He jumped out, heart pounding. The seat was empty. He drove, home shaking. When he got there, he turned on every light in his house and didn't sleep a second that night. And the next day, when he went out to check his truck in daylight, he saw it. A small black hoodie on the back seat, still damp, still cold. He burned it in his backyard, and since then, Ben doesn't go to Walmart anymore. Especially not at night. So if you're ever shopping late and the lights flicker, or the aisles feel longer than usual, or you hear your name whispered in the dark, leave your cart, walk out, and whatever you do, don't look back. This is the story of something strange and terrifying that happened to a young woman named Hannah. She worked late nights at a local diner and usually stopped at Walmart on her way home. It was her normal routine, until one night when everything changed. This is not a joke or a story made to scare kids. What I'm about to tell you really happened, so listen closely, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was a rainy Tuesday night. The roads were slick, and the wind howled through the empty streets. Hannah had just finished her shift and realized she was out of coffee and dog food. Tired but needing those items, she drove to the 24-hour Walmart about 5 miles from her house. When she arrived, the parking lot was almost empty. Only 3 other cars were there. The automatic doors opened slowly, and she stepped inside, wiping the rain off her jacket. No greeter was there to say hello. The air inside felt colder than usual. The lights overhead were on, but not bright. They flickered from time to time, and the store felt too quiet. She heard no announcements, no carts rolling, no soft music playing, just silence. Hannah grabbed a small cart and started walking through the aisles. First stop, the pet section. She grabbed a bag of dog food and tossed it into her cart. As she turned to head toward the coffee aisle, she noticed something strange. A balloon. It was red, floating slowly near the ceiling above the toy aisle. Just one. It was strange because she hadn't seen any signs about a party or sale. The balloon moved slightly as if pulled by something. She stared for a moment, then shook her head. "Weird," she whispered. She kept walking. When she reached the coffee aisle, she began scanning the shelves. That's when she heard a soft giggle. She froze. It was faint but clear, a child's giggle coming from the other end of the aisle. "Hello?" she called out. No answer. She slowly walked to the end of the aisle and looked around the corner. No one was there. She turned back, and the red balloon was now floating at the edge of her aisle. It hadn't been there a moment ago. Chills ran down her spine. She left the coffee and quickly turned her cart toward the front of the store. But the layout seemed different. The aisles felt longer. She passed the same shelf twice, a row of canned green beans stacked exactly the same way. The signs above her head were faded, hard to read, and some of them had no words at all. She tried to stay calm. "Maybe I'm just tired," she whispered. Then she saw something that made her stop cold. At the far end of the next aisle stood a little boy. He was barefoot, wearing a blue shirt and shorts. His skin looked pale. His eyes were dark and wide. He didn't move, just stood there staring at her. "Hey, are you okay?" Hannah asked gently. The boy tilted his head to the side, then smiled. It was a strange smile, too big for his small face. She stepped back slowly, her hands gripping the cart handle, and the lights began to flicker again. She looked up, and when she looked back down, the boy was gone. Her heart pounded in her chest. She turned and walked fast, pushing the cart, trying to find the exit. But every time she thought she was close to the front, she ended up in another aisle. She passed rows of shoes, clothes, and tools, but nothing looked right. And then, all the lights shut off. Complete darkness. The store was dead silent. She stood there frozen, too afraid to move. Then slowly, the emergency lights came on. Dim red lights lit the store in a creepy glow. Shadows stretched across the floor, making everything look twisted and wrong. She pulled out her phone to turn on the flashlight. It wouldn't work. The screen stayed black, even though it was fully charged before she entered the store. That's when she heard footsteps. Small, barefoot, coming closer. Hannah held her breath. She turned a corner and saw something she will never forget. There, in the middle of the aisle, was a group of mannequins. They weren't in their usual spots or poses. They were standing in a circle, all facing inward. As she got closer, she saw something inside the circle. The little boy. He was kneeling on the floor, crying. Hannah felt a strange mix of fear and sadness. She stepped closer and whispered, "Are you hurt?" The boy stopped crying. He looked up and screamed, a high-pitched, inhuman sound that made her ears ring. The mannequins all turned at once to face her. She ran. She didn't care about the cart anymore. She didn't care about coffee or dog food. She ran as fast as she could, twisting and turning through the aisles, until she finally saw it. The glowing green exit sign. She ran toward it, legs shaking, and shoved open the heavy door. Outside, it was still raining. The air hit her face like ice and she ran straight to her car. But when she reached it, she froze again. There was a red balloon tied to the door handle. It hadn't been there before. She yanked the balloon off, got in the car, locked the doors, and drove home without looking back once. When she got home, she ran inside, locked everything, and sat in silence for hours, staring at her phone, which suddenly started working again. The next day, she went back. In the daytime, everything looked normal. Bright lights, people shopping, music playing. She asked an employee about the boy. The worker's smile faded. "You saw him?" he asked quietly. She nodded. He leaned in and said, "They say a little boy went missing here years ago. His mom turned away for just a second. When she turned back, he was gone. Security footage never showed him leaving. They searched for days. Nothing. All they ever found was a red balloon." Hannah walked out of the store and never returned. She orders her groceries online now, and every time she hears a balloon pop or a child giggle, she locks her doors. So if you ever go to Walmart late at night and you see a red balloon floating, alone, leave right away, because some shoppers never find their way out. This is the story of something very strange that happened to a man named Derek. He wasn't the kind of person who scared easily. He worked night shifts at a warehouse, lived alone, and loved quiet places. He thought ghost stories were silly and never believed in anything supernatural. But one night at Walmart changed his mind forever. What happened to him was real. And after hearing it, you may never look at a late-night shopping trip the same way again. So listen closely, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It happened on a Thursday night around 12:30 a.m. Derek had just gotten off his shift. He was tired, hungry, and needed a few things: eggs, toothpaste, and a flashlight. He didn't want to wait until morning, so he drove to the 24-hour Walmart just outside town. The parking lot was nearly empty. Only 2 other cars were there, and the building looked quiet. The lights inside were still on, but they looked a little dimmer than usual. Still, it didn't bother Derek. He liked peace and quiet. He walked through the sliding doors. No greeter, no carts outside, which was strange, but he found one just inside. He pushed it in and started walking. Right away he noticed something weird. No music, no voices, just the low hum of the lights overhead. It felt like walking into a place that had been left alone too long. He passed the bakery section and headed for the toothpaste aisle. That's when he saw something odd. A single shoe. Just one. A small child's shoe, sitting in the middle of the floor. He looked around. No parents, no kids, no one. He stepped around it, a little creeped out, and kept walking. After picking up what he needed, Derek decided to get the flashlight from the hardware section. The lights in that part of the store were flickering. He figured maybe they were doing maintenance or something. As he walked down the aisle, he saw something move. A quick blur, like someone slipping past the shelves at the far end. "Hello," he called out. No response. He walked to the end of the aisle and looked around. Nothing. Just rows of shelves and products. He was about to turn back when he heard a soft clunk behind him. He turned. There, in the middle of the floor, was a red ball. It hadn't been there before, and it was slowly rolling toward him. His heart picked up speed. He took a step back, confused. Then he heard it, a giggle, not playful, not joyful, just soft and cold. It echoed through the empty aisle. That was enough for Derek. He dropped the flashlight in his cart and started walking toward the front of the store. But the more he walked, the more confused he became. The aisles weren't leading to the front. He passed the same section twice, camping gear. Then he passed it again. He started to panic a little. The signs above the aisles didn't help. One said exit, but when he followed it, it only led to another dead end full of shampoo bottles. Then the lights went off, just like that. Click. Total darkness. For a moment, everything was silent. Then red emergency lights turned on, casting long shadows across the floor. That's when he heard the footsteps, small, bare, slapping softly against the tile floor. He turned on his phone flashlight, aiming it down the aisle. Nothing, but the footsteps kept coming. He turned around, and there, she was a girl, standing right in front of him. She couldn't have been older than 7. Her skin was pale, her dress looked old and dirty, and her hair covered most of her face. She was barefoot, and she was holding the red ball. Derek stepped back slowly. "Hey, are you okay?" The girl lifted her head just enough to show her face. Her eyes were all black, her mouth twisted into a smile too wide for her face. Then she whispered, "You're not supposed to be here." The ball dropped from her hands and hit the floor with a thud. Derek ran. He didn't know where he was going, just anywhere but there. He turned corner after corner, every aisle looking darker than the last. Then he saw it, a glowing red exit sign far down the end of an empty hallway. He ran toward it, heart racing, legs burning. As he got closer, he saw something move across the hallway in front of the door. It was the girl. She wasn't walking anymore. She was crawling. Fast. Her head twisted to the side, her mouth wide open, whispering something he couldn't understand. He stopped in his tracks, turned around and ran in the opposite direction. That's when he tripped. His flashlight slid out of his hand and went dark. In the red glow of the emergency lights, he saw shadows moving, fast, all around him. He crawled toward a side door marked employees only. To his surprise, it opened. Inside, everything was dark, but he kept going, feeling along the wall. Then the lights in the hallway buzzed on. He saw the employee break room, the storage area, and then a door to the outside. He ran to it and pushed. It opened. He stumbled into the loading dock where rain was now falling heavily. He didn't stop. He ran through the rain to his car, jumped in, locked the doors, and turned the key. The engine started. As he backed out, he looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing. But when he turned on the headlights, he saw the girl, standing at the store entrance, soaking wet, still smiling. He drove home shaking, hands tight on the wheel. That night, he didn't sleep. He sat on his couch with every light on. The next morning, he told the store manager everything, but the manager didn't seem surprised. "We've had stories," the man said quietly. "A girl went missing here during construction. Some say she was never found." Derek asked, "Why does she show up?" The manager shrugged. "Some people think she's just looking for someone to play with." Derek never went back to that Walmart. To this day, he refuses to shop anywhere after dark. And if he hears a ball, bounce, or a small giggle, he leaves. So if you ever find yourself in a Walmart late at night and the lights go out, or you see a red ball rolling your way, don't wait. Run, because some shoppers don't leave alone. This is the story of something that happened to a teenage girl named Emily. She was 17, smart, confident, and not the type to get scared easily. She loved late-night walks, scary movies, and exploring quiet places. But after one strange night, inside a Walmart, everything changed. What she experienced still haunts her dreams. And after you hear it, you might think twice about shopping at midnight. This is a true Walmart horror story. It all started one Friday night. Emily was at home alone. Her parents had gone away for the weekend, and she had the house to herself. Around 11:45 p.m., she realized she needed some things: makeup remover, cereal, and cat food. The only place open that late was Walmart, just a 10-minute drive from her house. She grabbed her keys, put on a hoodie, and headed out. When she arrived, the parking lot was nearly empty. A few cars were parked far away, but the entrance looked normal. The big Walmart sign glowed bright above her, and the sliding doors opened with a familiar whoosh as she walked in. But something was off. There was no greeter, no music playing, no carts lined up near the front. Everything was too quiet. She found a cart near the entrance and started walking. The lights were on, but they seemed dimmer than usual. She told herself it was just because it was late. First, she went to the pet section. She found the cat food easily and tossed it into her cart. Then she headed to the makeup aisle. As she walked, she passed the toy section and froze. There was someone standing in the middle of the aisle. At first, she thought it was a mannequin. It was a little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, wearing a white dress and holding a stuffed bear. She stood perfectly still, not moving at all. Emily slowly stepped closer. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked. The girl didn't answer. She didn't even blink. Emily reached for her phone, thinking she should call someone. But as soon as she looked down at her screen, the girl disappeared. Gone. No sound. No footsteps. Just gone. Emily looked around, heart racing. "Maybe I imagined it," she whispered. She backed away and pushed her cart toward the front of the store. But something strange started happening. The aisles weren't where they were supposed to be. She turned left expecting to reach the front, but ended up in electronics. She turned right, and she was suddenly in the furniture section. Every sign looked old and faded, like it hadn't been changed in years. Then she passed the toy aisle again, and the girl was back. This time she was sitting on the floor. Her back was to Emily. She was slowly rocking back and forth, whispering something. Emily stopped in her tracks. The girl turned her head, slowly, unnaturally, and looked at her. Her eyes were all black. Her smile was too wide. She said, "You came back." Emily dropped her cart and ran. She didn't look back. She just ran through aisle after aisle, hoping to find the front doors. But the more she ran, the more lost she became. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. Emily stood still, trying to breathe. Then the emergency lights turned on. Dim red lights that barely lit the floor. In that red glow, the store didn't look like Walmart anymore. The shelves were crooked. The walls looked dirty. Some of the products were dusty and covered in cobwebs. Everything was silent except for her own breathing. She reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone again. Still no signal. No Wi-Fi. No time on the screen. Then she heard a soft sound. Thump. 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 Like small feet running. She turned, slowly. In the distance, under one of the flickering lights, stood the little girl. But she wasn't alone anymore. Behind her were other figures, more children, all pale, all wearing faded clothes, all staring. Emily turned and ran. She sprinted down an aisle, her footsteps echoing off the walls. She found a door marked "Employees Only" and shoved it open. Inside was a long, dark hallway. She followed it, hoping it would lead to an exit. She passed the break room, which was completely empty. The vending machines were broken, the lights inside flickering like they hadn't worked in years. Then she saw another door. Exit. She ran to it and pushed with all her strength. It opened. She stumbled into the cold night air. The parking lot was empty now. Even her car looked different, covered in dust as if it had been sitting there for years. She ran to it, yanked the door open and jumped inside. She started the engine. It roared to life. As she backed out, she looked at the front of the store, the sliding doors were open, and standing there was the little girl, still holding the bear, still smiling. Emily drove away as fast as she could. When she got home, she locked the doors and didn't sleep until the sun came up. The next day, she went back in the daytime just to see if it was all in her head. The store looked normal, bright, busy, full of people. She asked a cashier, "Has anyone ever seen anything strange here? Like a little girl?" The woman hesitated. Then she said, "You're not the first person to ask that." Emily didn't ask more. She never went back. To this day, she shops online or during daylight only, and if she hears laughter at night or sees a child standing alone in a store, she walks away. So if you ever find yourself in a Walmart after midnight and you hear small footsteps, or see a girl with a stuffed bear just standing there, don't speak. Don't move closer, and whatever you do, don't follow her. This is the story of something that happened to a man named Kevin. He was 28, worked as a delivery driver, and had a normal life. He lived in a small town where nothing much ever happened. But one night, during a quick trip to Walmart, something so strange and scary happened that he still refuses to go back there. He told me everything in detail, and I'm going to tell you now. Listen carefully, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was a cold Wednesday night in November. Kevin had just finished his last delivery of the day and was heading home when he remembered he needed a new phone charger and some groceries. It was around 11:40 p.m., and the only place open nearby was the 24-hour Walmart at the edge of town. He turned into the parking lot. It was nearly empty, just a few cars scattered here and there. The big Walmart sign above the building was glowing softly. Everything seemed normal at first. Kevin walked through the sliding doors. They opened slowly, and a cold gust of air brushed against his face. He noticed something strange right away. No greeter, no shopping carts, and no background music. The store felt silent. Too silent. He looked around and saw no other customers. Not a single employee in sight either. Still, Kevin didn't think too much of it. He just assumed it was a quiet night shift. He grabbed a handbasket left on the floor and started walking toward the electronics section to find a charger. As he walked down the main aisle, the overhead lights began to flicker. Old wiring, he muttered to himself. He kept going. When he got to the electronics section, he saw something that made him stop. There was a phone charger on the floor, already out of its box. It looked like someone had dropped it recently. He picked it up thinking maybe he could still buy it. Then he heard something. A clicking sound. It was soft, like fingernails tapping against plastic. He turned his head. A figure stood at the end of the electronics aisle. A man, or at least something that looked like a man. He was tall, wearing a Walmart vest, but his face was wrong. Too pale. His mouth was open, wider than normal, and he was staring directly at Kevin. Kevin blinked, and the man was gone. Just like that. Vanished. Kevin dropped the charger and stepped back. He was starting to feel nervous now. Something didn't feel right. He quickly turned and walked toward the grocery section. Maybe there were other workers there. But as he walked, he realized something even worse. He was hearing footsteps. Not his own. They were behind him. Slow. Heavy. He stopped. The footsteps stopped too. He turned quickly. No one there. He picked up his pace, heading toward the front of the store, hoping to leave. But when he got there, the sliding doors wouldn't open. He waved his hand. He jumped. He even kicked the sensor. Nothing. He looked around for help, but the store was still empty. It was like he was alone in a giant dark maze. That's when he saw something move in the reflection of the glass door, a shadow. It passed behind him quickly. Kevin spun around, but again, nothing was there. He backed away from the door, breathing hard, heart pounding, and then he heard something that chilled him to the bone. Laughter, childlike, faint, coming from the toy aisle. He didn't want to go there, but something pulled him. Maybe curiosity. Maybe something else. He walked toward the toy section slowly, the laughter growing louder with each step. When he turned the corner, he saw a small girl. She was sitting on the floor, holding a toy doll. Her hair was long and messy, and she wore a red dress that looked old and torn. "Hey, are you lost?" Kevin asked softly. She didn't answer. Then she looked up. Her eyes were pure black, and her smile stretched way too far across her face. Kevin gasped and stumbled back. The girl stood up slowly. Behind her, dolls began to fall off the shelves, one by one, like something invisible was knocking them down. Then she whispered, "Why are you still here?" Kevin turned and ran. He ran through the aisles, heart racing, desperate to find an exit. But the store didn't make sense anymore. The signs were wrong. One said, "Exit," but led to a wall of mirrors. Another said, "Help," but the aisle was completely empty. The lights above him turned red. The air grew colder, and then he saw the employee again, the pale man with the wide mouth, standing at the end of the frozen foods aisle. This time, Kevin didn't stop. He ran the other way, past shelves of broken items, past flickering TVs showing static, past shopping carts that moved by themselves. Finally, he saw a red glowing sign, "Emergency Exit." He ran toward it and slammed into the door. It opened. He stumbled outside into the freezing air. The parking lot was still empty, but his car looked strange. Frost covered the windows, even though it wasn't that cold before. He jumped inside, locked the doors, and drove off without looking back. When he got home, he looked at the time. It was 3:03 a.m. He had only planned to be there for 15 minutes, but over 3 hours had passed. The next day, he called Walmart and asked if there were any problems with their power or staff during the night. The manager said, "That store hasn't had a night shift in weeks. We close at midnight now." Kevin's heart sank. He had been inside a Walmart that wasn't supposed to be open. He's never gone back. And if you ever find yourself walking into a Walmart late at night and you hear laughter, or see a worker with no eyes, or a child holding a doll, leave fast. Because some places open their doors to more than just shoppers. This is the story of a man named Tyler. He worked the night shift at a gas station, lived a simple life, and didn't believe in anything spooky. He laughed at ghost stories, rolled his eyes at horror movies, and thought scary things were just in people's heads. But one night, inside a Walmart, Tyler saw something that made him question everything he believed. He doesn't laugh at ghost stories anymore. This is a true Walmart horror story. It all happened on a quiet Sunday night. Tyler had just finished work around 11:30 p.m. and realized he needed some laundry detergent and a few snacks. There was a 24-hour Walmart on his way home, so he decided to stop by. He figured it would be quick, just 10 minutes in and out. He pulled into the parking lot. It was mostly empty. A few cars were parked far off, but the front of the store was brightly lit. Nothing seemed unusual. The automatic doors slid open with a soft whoosh, and he stepped inside. The moment he walked in, Tyler felt something strange. There was no sound, no greeter, no soft background music, no announcements, just silence. The air felt thick, almost like walking into a room where someone had just been arguing. Still, Tyler shrugged it off. "It's late," he muttered. "They're probably low on staff." He grabbed a cart and walked toward the back where the cleaning supplies were kept. As he moved through the aisles, he realized something else odd. He hadn't seen a single person, not a worker, not another shopper, no one. Then he heard it, ding, like a bell, faint and distant. It echoed softly through the store. He stopped. "Hello?" he called out. No answer. He kept walking, his eyes darting around. He reached the detergent aisle and grabbed a bottle off the shelf. As he turned to place it in the cart, he saw something out of the corner of his eye. Movement. He looked up. At the far end of the aisle, a shopping cart slowly rolled across the floor. On its own. There was no one pushing it. No wind. Nothing. Just a single slow-moving cart gliding silently across the tiles. Tyler's skin prickled with goosebumps. He told himself it was probably on a slope or someone just let it go. Still, he didn't waste time. He threw the detergent into the cart and hurried to grab a few snacks. But the store was changing. He couldn't explain it, but every aisle he turned into felt darker, longer, like the shelves were stretching out and twisting. He passed by the toy aisle and stopped. There was a child standing in the middle of the floor. A little boy. He wore a striped shirt, had no shoes, and held a teddy bear that looked old and worn out. Tyler blinked. The boy was gone. Just like that. "Okay, that's enough," Tyler whispered. He pushed his cart toward the front, trying to leave, but the store wouldn't let him. Every time he turned a corner, he ended up back at the same place. The toy section, over and over again. He passed the same row of dolls 3 times. Each time, one more doll had turned its head to face him. By the 4th time, all the dolls were staring. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. Tyler's heart pounded. A few seconds later, dim red emergency lights flickered on. Everything looked different in the red glow. Shadows stretched across the floor and the silence felt heavier. He pulled out his phone. The flashlight worked, but there was no signal. No Wi-Fi. The time had frozen. It still said 11:42 p.m. even, though he was sure it had been longer. Then he heard a voice. Soft, just behind him. "Play with me." Tyler turned quickly, shining his light. No one was there. He started walking faster. He saw the little boy again, standing at the end of an aisle. But this time the boy's face was not normal. His eyes were completely black. No whites. Just deep, endless darkness. He opened his mouth, far too wide, and let out a screech that echoed through the store. Tyler turned and ran. He didn't care where he was going. He just needed to get away. Shelves tipped as he ran past, lights buzzed and popped above him. He passed mannequins that now had no faces, just smooth skin where eyes and mouths should be. Then he saw it. A glowing red sign. Exit. He ran toward it like his life depended on it. He burst through the emergency door and stumbled outside into the freezing air. The parking lot was silent. His car was still there. Everything looked normal. He got in, locked the doors, and drove home without saying a word. When he got home, he looked at the time. It was 3:17 a.m. He had been inside that Walmart for almost 4 hours. The next morning, he went back to check. In daylight, the store looked perfectly normal. People were shopping. Employees smiled. Music played. He asked one of the employees if anything strange had happened the night before. The man paused. "You were here last night?" he asked. Tyler nodded. The man looked uncomfortable. Then he said, "You're not the first person to see the boy." Tyler asked, "Who is he?" The man whispered, "Years ago, a child got separated from his mom. Security footage shows him walking into the toy section. Then, nothing. He vanished. They searched for days, never found him." Tyler didn't say anything else. He just walked out. He's never been back. Now he does all his shopping during the day. He keeps his lights on at night. And sometimes he swears he still hears a faint bell just before he falls asleep. So if you ever go to Walmart late at night and you hear wheels rolling, or a child laughing, or you see a boy holding a teddy bear, leave right away, because some kids never make it home and some stores don't forget. This is the story of something truly chilling that happened to a woman named Rachel. She's a calm, friendly person, the type who always smiles at strangers and never lets fear get the best of her. But after one late-night trip to Walmart, Rachel's life changed. She never shops alone at night anymore. What happened inside that store still haunts her. I'm going to tell you everything she told me. So sit back and listen closely. because this is a true Walmart horror story. It was a cold, winter night. Snow had just started falling and the wind was sharp. Rachel had been working late and got home around 11:15 p.m. She realized she was out of milk and bread, just the basics. She thought about waiting until morning, but then she remembered the 24-hour Walmart just a few minutes from her apartment. She put on her boots, grabbed her coat, and drove through the light snow. The parking lot was almost empty. Just 2 other cars were there, both covered in snow like they hadn't moved in a while. The giant Walmart sign glowed above her, and the automatic doors opened without a sound. The moment Rachel stepped inside, she noticed how quiet it was. No music, no announcements, no people. She looked around. No cashiers, no other customers. Just long, quiet aisles stretching out in front of her. She grabbed a small basket and started walking. At first, she didn't feel scared, just a little uneasy. Maybe it was the time of night. Maybe it was the silence. Still, she kept moving. She grabbed a loaf of bread and turned into the dairy aisle to get milk. That's when she noticed it. A shopping cart. It was tipped over on its side, right in the middle of the aisle. A bottle of milk had spilled, leaving a white puddle on the floor. Rachel frowned. "Weird," she whispered. She looked around for a worker to report it, but again, no one was there. She stepped around the mess and reached for a new bottle of milk. Then she heard a noise. A whisper. Very soft. She couldn't make out the words, but it was definitely a voice. "Hello?" she called. No answer. She stood still, listening. The whispering stopped. She shook her head and walked toward the front of the store. But now something was different. The store layout had changed. She passed the same aisle twice, the toy section, and then again, and again. It was like she was going in circles. That's when she saw something that made her blood run cold. At the end of the aisle was a small girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old, wearing a white dress, barefoot, holding a stuffed animal. Her hair was long and dark, hanging over her face. Rachel stared. The girl didn't move. She took a step forward. The girl turned slowly and smiled. It was not a sweet, innocent smile. It was a wide, twisted smile that didn't fit her face. Then the lights flickered, and the girl was gone. Rachel gasped and stumbled backward, her heart pounding. She turned and walked quickly toward the front. But no matter which way she went, she kept ending up back in the toy section. Every sign was wrong. One said home, but it led to a row of empty shelves. Another said exit, but when she followed it, she ended up right back at the spilled milk. Then the lights shut off. Everything went dark. For a moment, Rachel couldn't move. Then the red emergency lights came on, casting a strange glow through the aisles. In that light, the store looked broken. Some shelves were tipped over, products were scattered. The walls looked cracked, dirty. She took out her phone to use the flashlight. It turned on, but the screen showed something strange. Instead of the home screen, it showed a live video. A video of the aisle she was standing in. Only in the video, someone was standing behind her. She spun around. No one. She looked back at her phone. The video was gone. Now the screen was black, and the phone wouldn't turn off. She shoved it into her pocket and kept walking. Then she heard it again. The whispering. Louder now, but this time, it wasn't one voice. It was many. Whispering different things all at once. She heard her name over and over. Rachel, "Rachel, Rachel." She covered her ears and started to run. Then she saw the girl again, standing in the frozen food section, just behind the glass doors. But her reflection was smiling while her real face was blank. Rachel screamed and ran the other way. That's when the power came back. The regular lights turned on. Music started playing again. It was like nothing had happened. The store looked clean, organized, normal. But the girl was gone. Rachel stood there, breathing hard, shaking. Then she saw an employee stacking shelves nearby. She rushed over. "Excuse me, I think something's wrong. There was a girl." The worker paused. "You saw her?" Rachel blinked. "What?" The worker lowered his voice. "The little girl. White dress? Stuffed toy?" Rachel nodded slowly. He sighed. "You're not the first one. People who come in after midnight, sometimes they see her." "Who is she?" Rachel asked. "No one knows," he said. "Some say a girl got lost in this store years ago. Others say she never existed. But she shows up, always in the toy aisle, always alone." Rachel left without buying anything. She drove home in silence. That night, she locked her doors, closed every curtain, and left every light on. And now, every time she sees a toy lying in the middle of a store aisle, she walks the other way. So, if you ever go to Walmart late at night and you see a little girl staring at you from across the store, don't talk to her, don't follow her, and whatever you do, don't smile back. This is the story of a man named Adam. He's a quiet guy who works as a night janitor at a school. He lives alone, enjoys reading crime novels, and usually keeps to himself. Adam isn't the kind of person who believes in ghosts or gets scared easily. But one night at Walmart, everything changed. What happened to him was real. He told me the full story, and after hearing it, I couldn't stop thinking about it for days. So now, I'm going to tell you. Listen closely, because this is a true Walmart horror story. It all started on a rainy Wednesday night. Adam had just finished his shift at the school. It was a little past midnight. As he drove home through the wet streets, he remembered he needed some cleaning supplies and snacks. The only place open at that hour was the 24-hour Walmart on the edge of town. He didn't think twice. He turned into the empty parking lot and parked close to the doors. The rain tapped lightly on his windshield. He turned off the engine, stepped out, and walked inside. The automatic doors opened slowly with a long whoosh. Right away, Adam noticed something strange. There was no music, no announcements, no one at the registers. The whole store was silent. He looked around. No other customers, no workers, not even a cart boy. He grabbed a handbasket and started walking toward the cleaning aisle. The lights above flickered once, then again. He didn't worry. He had been in plenty of stores at night. Sometimes it's just quiet. He grabbed a bottle of surface cleaner, some paper towels, and a bag of chips. Just as he turned the corner into the next aisle, he froze. There was a shopping cart in the middle of the aisle. It was full of children's toys, dolls, cars, a teddy bear. The cart was rocking, slightly, as if someone had just touched it. Adam waited, but no one was there. He slowly walked past the cart and continued toward the back of the store to get bottled water. But every few steps, he felt like someone was watching him. Then he started hearing it. A soft tapping sound. Tap, tap, tap. It echoed from the next aisle. He peeked around the corner. Nothing. He turned back, and the toy cart was now behind him, closer than before. The teddy bear was lying on the floor. Adam bent down to pick it up, and that's when he heard it. A voice. Small child's voice. "Why did you leave me?" Adam spun around. No one. His heart began to race. He stood up quickly, dropped the bear, and backed away. He didn't care about the bottled water anymore. He just wanted to leave. He rushed toward the front of the store. But something was wrong. He had taken this path only minutes ago, but now the aisles looked different, longer, darker. The signs above were faded. Some letters were missing. One aisle was filled with nothing but old shoes, all the same size, all pointing the same way. Then the lights went out. Total darkness. Adam stood still. Then red emergency lights turned on. The store glowed in a strange, haunting color. Shadows moved on the walls. Some looked like people. He reached for his phone and turned on the flashlight. It worked, but his phone said the time was 3:33 a.m. It had only been 20 minutes. Then, from the end of the aisle, he saw something move. A little girl, walking slowly toward him. She was barefoot, wearing a white nightgown. Her hair hung over her face. In her hands, she held the same teddy bear from the cart. Adam tried to speak. "Are you lost?" The girl looked up. Her eyes were empty, black, and she smiled. Then whispered, "You came back." Adam ran. He didn't look back. He sprinted through the red-lit aisles, searching for the front of the store. Every turn brought him back to the toy section. He saw the same shelf of dolls, but now every doll was facing him. Their eyes were glowing. He turned left and ended up in the electronics section. The TVs were all on. Static buzzed from every screen. Then they all changed. Every screen showed him standing in the electronics aisle, and behind him, on every screen, the little girl, standing close, smiling. Adam turned around in real life. No one. He ran again, past the bakery, past the empty registers. Finally, he saw it, the glowing green exit sign. He rushed to the doors. They didn't open. He banged on them. He screamed, but the glass didn't move. Then in the reflection, he saw her, the girl, standing just behind him. He turned fast, but there was no one there. The doors opened. Just like that. Adam fell through them and hit the cold sidewalk. The rain had stopped. The parking lot was still. Everything looked normal again. His car was exactly where he left it. He climbed in, locked the doors, and drove off. He didn't sleep that night. The next day, he told the store manager everything. The man listened, quiet, arms crossed. When Adam finished, the manager sighed. "You're not the first," he said. "What do you mean?" Adam asked. "There's been stories about a girl. Years ago, someone left her in the toy section. The store was closing and she was never found. No one knows what really happened. But sometimes, late at night, people see her. They hear her. The bear. The whisper." Adam nodded slowly. He never went back. To this day, he does his shopping in the afternoon. And if he sees a cart filled with toys or hears a soft tap, tap, tap in a quiet aisle, he leaves. So if you ever go to Walmart late at night and the lights flicker and a child asks you, "Why did you leave me?" don't answer. Don't stay. Just walk away before she follows you home.